back to another special episode
What's
of the Epic
up?
Experiment Podcast.
Let's go.
Hi, I'm Bruce. It's episode 159, and I'm joined on the line once again by Sneaky Pete to chat
Hey,
all
what's
things
up?
Magic the Gathering.
Oh my goodness. We're
We're
excited.
almost at the end of the year. Can you
So
believe it?
I can't believe that's another rotation around the sun for all of us here on the Epic Experiment Podcast. If you like what you're hearing, again, it's most of our social media will be in the show notes. We've got big plans for 2024. Keep us in your inner circle here. And we are happy to have you with us today. What are we talking about, Bruce?
Put us in your ear holes, baby. Yeah.
So
we're
it's gonna be
talking
fun.
all sorts of things today. It's gonna be good. This is gonna be our end of year reflection audience. Now we record on Monday nights, and the next two Monday nights are Christmas and New Year's. Guess what we're not doing? We're not recording on Christmas and New Year's.
To everybody over the internet is they don't got to hear us for 2 weeks. They have to wait 3 weeks now to hear us again.
So now,
Merry Christmas,
don't worry.
Happy Hanukkah, everybody. Happy Kwanzaa.
Happy Kwanzaa, all that good stuff.
All
We
that
will
you
get more
celebrate.
content out to you. Don't worry. We understand you gotta have your epic experiment. You gotta have
With
a
your
little bit of us.
coffee. Oh yeah.
Get a little coffee, put a little Baileys in it, sit back over the holidays and relax. We got lots of back
You don't have
episodes
the
for you to
kids
check
with
out.
this. It'll be your background noise, your white noise to go to sleep.
But we also know you want some new stuff, so we're going to bring it to you. Don't worry. But we're going to take some well-deserved rest, spend some time with our friends and family for the holidays, and we'll be back to give you guys content in 2024. Don't you worry. But we got lots on the show today to talk about some reflections for 2023, because 2023 was a pretty banner year for Magic. Pretty good year for us here on the show. We have a new co-host, Big Pete's here.
What?
And because if you're new to joining us here on the show, for better part of 120 episodes, I'm pretty sure Lux was my co-host, and Lux has had life got busy, and Lux
that's what happens.
Step aside, and Pete was gracious enough to join me so that we could continue our adventure here on the Epic Experiment.
Honest, Bruce, I'm glad you didn't get sick of me so far with all of my banter.
Dude, no way! You're our dirtbag. We love our Pete. We love our Sneaky Pete.
My friends call it the Sneaky Pete special when they're like, "Oh, he's about to win right now." Well, explicit it here, and you stink. And literally, that happened on Sunday. We'll get to that though. We'll get to that in all due time.
But there was also lots of really great stuff that happened in Magic. And we're going to sort of reflect a little bit on what happened for us personally. Yeah. And then we're going to try and look at it from a sort of a bit of a bigger perspective, to look at the broader Magic Commanders sort of ecosphere, to try and help people have a better perspective, maybe leaving 2023, and hopefully give us some perspective. So as we enter 2024 and get a deluge of yet more product, what people might, can anticipate some more. So I thought we'd start with some personal reflections before we get too far down, the broader strokes of the game.
Yeah, so, for sure.
How was your 2023 with Magic? What did you dig it? Was it all it was dreamed of and more? Okay,
so to be clear, I've had an interesting year. I discovered Vintage Cube. Fantastic. One of like that first girlfriend, it was love at first sight, right? It was that honeymooning period that I can't just get out of my head now. I'm skipping in the fields when I'm thinking about all the dumb stuff I can brew with Vintage Cube. Drafting, I finally broke my streak of going winless the last few drafts. I literally didn't win a game every draft I've been doing this year. So thank goodness that's over. I went 1-2 on Friday. Everyone, the Flying Spaghetti Monster has answered my prayers when it comes to breaking that curse.
I'm sorry, Pete. Are you trying to tell me that when you draft, are you drafting in person or drafting
in person? Arena's been
okay.
In-person streak. I'm sorry, I should have been more clear. I've actually physically driven to a store recently and actually drafted the last 6 months or so.
Because I was going to say, if you haven't won an Arena, that feels
that's pretty abysmal. Yeah, it's a
That feels
player
like a
error
skill
issue.
issue.
But
Feels
I
like a
mean,
skill issue.
bronze league forever, baby. Anyway, so but in terms of Commander, I built some pretty fun decks this year. I've updated some decks finally, put some on Moxfield for the first time in God knows how many years. And I've been cutting staples, so it's been a love-hate affair, I think, with my favorite game. I've definitely had to take multiple long breaks. But Bruce, how have you been?
I have to say, I've really enjoyed 2023. I thought there was a lot of positives to be had. For starters, the Transformers were dope.
Yes.
Those guys were awesome. Now, I realized they probably were printed in 2022, but I didn't get my hands on them in 2023 and start building decks with them. So I'm going to count them as 2023 cards. I thought the Transformers were dope because it's my childhood. Come to cartoons, come to my
too.
cards. And I'm a big fan. So that was cool. I liked the storyline with the Phyrexians. It's like, I'm not usually a lore guy, but I kind of liked the story, but I felt like they built it up and then they ended it real too fast.
That's why I was upset.
Yeah, I wanted more. I wanted more like to the
Give
story
us some
than
more
like
girth, man. Give us some girth, baby. Give us some girth, please.
Some girth. Like,
yes.
Okay, I was gonna call it texture, but sure, you can call it girth if you want, man.
Depth. Let's just descend more. Let's descend more in the story, okay?
Go deeper. All right. Anyway,
Dear God.
sorry, folks.
We're getting it all out now before the new year, I guess.
But no, I really liked like the sort of the build up, and then it ended too fast. Because I kind of feel like when we had the Oath of the Gatewatch cycle, the build up was too protracted, and then we had the giant effect. War of the Spark, and the War of the Spark felt like a really good cathartic ending to the whole arc.
It was like the end game for Marvel, right? I remember everybody was talking about it when I first started playing a lot more competitively, and everyone was like, "This story is so cool," and I'm so hype.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, I don't know anything about this. Fill me in, please."
Yeah, and so, but I felt with March of the Machine, everything sort of came to a crashing halt far too quickly, and I was like, "Oh, I kind of feel a little let down." But I liked the build up, and I liked part of the story, so that was cool. I really liked the Lord of the Rings product. I thought that was really, really well done. Well, I mean, I liked the product. I liked I liked many of the cards. I liked the fact that there's a lot of options to play with and lots of cool things to do.
Oh, sure.
The drafting actually was pretty fun too. I did that a number of times.
I remember we did it together. Remember?
Yeah,
we do a little bit together. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But I also liked the fact that the artwork on the cards really looked like Lord of the Rings. It really felt Lord of the Rings. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of good to be had there. I know some people didn't love bits and pieces of it. The One Ring is super powerful card. Good heavens. But I really liked the Lord of the Rings product. I think over on the whole, I built 4 decks in 2023, which I feel like is a smaller number than I. Well,
because you usually do what, like 5 or 6 at least. I remember since I met you, you always sort of rotate through stuff pretty quickly.
Well, I try to build a new commander for each set. Like I try to I pick one that I like, but there's a lot of the ones that from some of the sets I just didn't build.
They just fell flat, or they just didn't really interest you, right? I remember we talked about this too. It took us when we were trading cards together. I remember we had like an hour or 2 long conversation about this because it's been difficult. Let's be real here. It's been difficult to track this stuff this year.
Well, that's the thing, right? So you end up seeing you see a commander and you're like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing with that, and they put it down. And so I mean, a great example is like the 4-color Aragorn card. Like 4-color Aragorn, like it just like I can like, what do I do with this card? This just feels like 4-color soup.
I know what I do with that card, but I'm not going to tell you because then you're going to get upset at me.
Dirtbag Pete.
It would be Intruder Alarm. Sorry.
I was going to put it in Ramos, but anyway.
Intruder Alarm, Cryptolithrite, some just basic shenanigans. Anyway, that's another story. Another story for another time.
So yeah, so this year I ended up building Ultra Magnus, Optimus Prime, and Megatron.
Sweet.
Do you see where my
Which
brain's
I've
going?
seen them, and they were fun to play against and see it in action because it's definitely a trip around the sun for those ones.
Yeah, and then I built Gimli. I've built Gimli, Mournful Avenger.
That's a cool
that
one.
I haven't ever actually had a chance to play, but I will have to pull out here and make use of here shortly.
Please.
But those are the 4 ones I built, and I didn't build any for Wilds of Eldraine because Wilds of Eldraine. I think the only one that appealed to me was Hilda, and I feel like
ruined it for you. Did I ruin it for you, Bruce?
Yeah, you kind of made me feel bad about myself for doing it because it's like, Bruce, this is just an oppressive make everybody sad deck.
It's literally like a needle. It's an icy manipulator, and it just doesn't end well for anybody involved. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so I mean, so I've moved away from the Hilda deck, and nothing else really caught my fancy because the food deck I purchased was at Precon. And I don't really want to build another build a Greta deck because that doesn't seem like Greta goes in Frodo and Sam. And other than that, I think a lot of the legends from Wilds of Eldraine were kind of lackluster. And then Ixalan, I haven't been enthused with what I've seen for commanders yet. Maybe I'm going to find something that really catches my fancy, but it hasn't happened yet. So. I don't want to build the Merfolk. That I have multiple copies of this Hackball, which seems fun, but I don't think I want to build it. I have a few other ones that have come in, so I'm like, I don't know. So I'll have to think about what I want to build for 2024. Maybe there's something that's coming down the pipe.
Yeah, but for me, I bought all the LOTR precons as well, just to stay with it. I mean, I upgraded two are still sealed or whatever. They're still sealed, but I just don't like the deck, unfortunately. Like the human deck that I have is just kind of boring after a while, So
the human deck with Eowyn smashes.
It does.
And that thing is just gonna kick your teeth in. The Elves deck is disappointing because it should have been cool and it's not.
Yeah,
and then you have
nothing against it. Nothing against it. And Reanimator package, Sauron's pretty much Reanimator, and then the Frodo food deck or whatever. But I think I'm excited for the Fallout because that was my childhood. Was the Fallout games? I had friends that really went deep into that game, and I played it a lot in college with friends too. So I'm excited for those cards a little bit more, just because of the fact that it's something
I want the Jeskai Energy deck. The Jeskai Energy deck.
Yeah, I saw that and it screamed Bruce. So I was like, "Dang, he's gonna be doing flips right now."
I already got a Jeskai Energy deck, and I'm like,
perfect. Well, oh my god,
I was a dirty hipster before. I was a dirty hipster. Like someone knew what I wanted to do. So
then modern ones. Oh god, it was horrible. It was a Tamir Energy deck. Do you remember that with the Basilisk and the double striking runner dude who gives you 8 energy and you go infinite with the combat steps? You ever remember that?
Yep, I do.
The Aether Whale.
That's my Jeskai deck. It's the whales. Yeah. I'm playing the whales and I bounce them back and forth. Like one of them washes all the permanents away, and then you recast the other one, make a giant pile of energy. And it's a cool deck if you can if you're gonna pull the whale trick. But it's not like it's not like it's fun. It's just a big old whale. So I'm hoping there's some new cool things. What I did realize though, Pete, and as I realized that the number of games I've won in Commander this year has been, how do I put this? Very, very few. And it really, that's part of the reason why we did a session the other week on mulliganing. Because I think I need to be far more intentional about my mulligans and how I choose to start the game. And we're going to come to that point a little later on, I think, in our conversation.
Reflection, yeah.
But I also recognize there's a lot of the cards in my lists that are not optimized any longer. And I probably need to go through and, like you say, cut a bunch of staples, which are going to hurt me, or take out cards that are not optimal and put in other pieces that are going to synergize better with my decks. So it's going to result in me having to retool quite a number of things in the new year, and
I'm gonna give
which
you an
is
example.
good.
Yeah, a recent example. I cut Avacyn and World Slayer in my equipment deck that are 2 rares for 2 8-cent cards, just because of the fact that I needed the deck to run, but even better than before. And it sucks because I love Avacyn. I love the card. Its ability is super powerful. I invested time and money in the card, and now it's like it's not being played any further. Because as we're gonna move on to the next portion, which is the state of the game right now, is different than when we started, and a hell of a lot different than when you started. Excuse my language, Bruce. When
Are you telling me I'm old? Are you telling
No,
me
I'm
I'm
just
old,
saying.
Pete?
I'm saying you're seasoned in Commander, man. I'm not speaking
Oh,
about your age
Jesus,
at all.
I
I can
like that.
confirm nor deny how old you are, because I'm not going to disclose that personal information on the show, because we don't need that to come back to me. You know what I mean? I don't need the Mounties to come or the Pinkertons to come and bust down my door. So
The Mounties are coming to you. Could you imagine a bunch? No, the Mounties
middle
aren't
of
coming
like
anywhere near you.
middle of like Pennsylvania or Maryland or like the Eastern Seaboard, they're riding down the coast to come get me.
No, they're not. The
They're sleeping
Mounties
in
are
the
not gonna do that.
Appalachian Mountains for like the night, so they gotta find a place to stop for their horses.
And then go
Yeah.
pan for some gold. Yeah, there we go.
Lewis and Clark
Anyway,
much? Anyway.
well, I mean, the original story of our Northwest Mounted Police was to go and control the gold rush that was happening in the Yukon territories. And so many of our stories with our Royal Canadian Mounted Police begin and end with panning for gold in the Yukon. So
Love
anyway,
that. A nice Western story to start off.
yeah,
Spaghetti.
there we go. So anyway, there's lots of good to be had in 2023. I'm looking forward to 2024. I'm not sure I'm not exactly stoked for the Ravnica remastered because I didn't think we needed yet another Ravnica product. But I am kind of looking forward to Karlov Murders, Murders in Karlov Mansion or whatever it is. I think that should be pretty neat.
That should be interesting.
Pretty down with that.
It's based on the Clue board game that Hasbro owns, so I'm not surprised that they're sort of leveraging a very popular game that we've sort of grown up with to milk it a little bit, and also the fact that it's a lot of the characters featured are very very prominent in the lore. So yeah, I don't know how I feel yet. I think Ravnica Remastered is going to be annoying to draft like it was when they did Dominaria Remastered. I also think that the reprints are going to upset a lot of people because of the price point, but we'll get into that as well in this next section. This section, I like the title, Bruce. We had the Reflections of Lit Jar Us, like because that's the play on words.
This one, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. What did you call this one?
This one is Gifted Estates, because we're discussing how that card used to be relevant and now it's not anymore.
Oh, it is poop soup now. It is.
You know what I mean? And isn't that crazy to think about? Because I used to be like the primo white ramp, like in Commander.
Well, it was land tax followed by Gifted Estates for sure.
Right, but if you couldn't afford the land tax, you'd buy a Gifted Estates and you would play it in every white deck at that time, right?
Yeah, because you're poor. Yeah, I understand.
What is my motto, Bruce? Any card is a bomb in the right hands. So
you are correct. And I'm going to be honest. Like the reason I have a land tax is because I found one in a box from ages ago. So not because I have not a poor.
Not
I'm
because
still poor.
In it, but because you put fetches in between 5-cent freaking commons, and you give me a heart attack, baby. I got to check my pulse after I go through your box of goodies.
All right, let's go through this Gifted Estates. So, what about the broader state of Commander? Like, I'm going to be honest. I feel like the format has changed significantly. I feel like in 2023 there's been a significant change because I remember playing last January and feeling like things are a lot different now than they were even just a year ago. Would you agree, Pete?
Yeah, power level. I like to equate it to this, right? Back in like 15 years ago, 10 years ago, when Commander was like a young thing, everybody was eating a carnivore diet, and now everybody's vegan or something, right? Like it's pivoted completely.
I prefer to think of it as being as transformational. It's a transformational stage.
The diet
we were
changed,
playing.
Okay.
Yeah, the diet changed. Now it's me. I'm getting eaten. No, so I feel like really the format is in the process of transforming it before our eyes.
Yeah.
And I think all jokes aside, there, folks, if you were like me and you played Commander in 2014, 15, 16, 17, the game was very different than it is today. And we're in the process now of going through a process of transforming it into what is going to be the dominant way of consuming Magic. And it is definitely a good deal more assertive, I would say, than it was in 2015. Quite a bit more streamlined, and there's a lot more to it that we have to consider when we sit down to build our decks. Pete.
Bruce, what would you say was like the average curve in 2017, 2015? What would you think would be like where would it cap out at, right? Where would it cap out at? Because mostly
it wouldn't be
yeah.
In 2015, 2016, playing some number of 7 or 8 drops would not be unheard of in your deck. Those would be your biggest bombs. And not just Eldrazi. Like you would play an Avacyn. Yeah.
Rise of the Dark Realms. Yeah. Something to finish the game.
Right. Yeah, you play something big and chunky like that to get the job done. And that would not be uncommon. Your ramp package tended to start a lot later, so you would play your mana ramp on 3 and 4. So you'd be playing like a 3 mana Manolith. Like if you were really good, you got your Sol Ring out early, and you might have had a talisman, but talismans weren't as like prevalent as they are today.
They weren't really played. Yeah.
Well, they didn't. They had been printed so long ago that they were expensive and hard to get a hold of.
That's right. They didn't reprint them until the guild kits and the yes. Thank you.
So when they started printing them again in a bunch of products, then the prices dipped and people get a hand on them. So now they were, instead of being $10 to $15 a card, they're $1 or $2. So now they can go. The proliferation is everywhere. Arcane Signet popped up in 2019. That thing is now everywhere. It was not a thing before 2019. So you had
a huge crazy bomb, I guess, in that sense.
Well, absolutely. It goes because it literally would go everywhere. So you would play like your ramp packages were things like Kodama's Reach and Cultivate and Manoliths or Darksteel Ingots and that stuff. Yeah, Chromatic Lantern. Chromatic Lantern was one of the top, the best ones you could get. Because it fixed all your mana. And then people would still play Sky Shroud Claims.
Dragon Horde. Yeah.
Yeah. We were playing a lot of these sorts of ramp pieces. Explosive Vegetation was another one that got quite a bit of play.
Migratory Root, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. These cards have essentially disappeared from the format. I can't tell you the last time I watched someone cast a Sky Shroud Claim that wasn't a landfall deck. That was like heavily based in mono green. So,
I'm running my Fabian deck, by the way.
No, it's good.
She's 6 mana, and it's probably my mistake, but she's 6 mana, right? Anyway.
So, I mean, I would really feel like one of the biggest changes has been how the ramp package has been pushed down the curve to 1, 2, and if you're playing ramp on 3. It's like not just kind of good. It's like it's insano ramp. And because there's so much of it.
Let me tell you real quick. Star Compass, right, is an uncommon. It's like a $2 card.
Yes.
Guardian Idol, it's like $1.50 or almost $2. People are seeing the value of these 2 mana rocks that come in tapped, the Fire Diamonds, the Sapphire Diamonds, etc. The cards that the 2 mana rocks that come in tapped are super beneficial now because of how fast everything is. How the commanders now are like 3 mana or less. It's pretty rare to see a commander that's 6 mana or 8 mana. It's unheard of at this rate.
I would agree with you in the fact that like I play multiple of these commanders like Optimus Prime and Ultra Magnus and Megatron are all 6 mana or greater commanders. That really like puts you in a different type of deck than what people are building out of the current sets. So if you go look at EDH Rec and you go look at the top commanders from like a particular set, let's go look at this Lost Caverns of Ixalan.
Yeah.
Well, like Myco Tyrant is the second most popular deck. It's a 3-mana commander. Amalia is 2 mana. Anim Pakal is 3. The Ancient One is 2.
Yep.
Like, yeah, you have Akhlazotz there as a 5-mana one, and that's a little bit unexpected. But very few of them cost more than 4.
Yeah.
Like,
so then the other thing that we've noticed is 3-color decks have become very, very, very prevalent because of how easy it is to fix. And even off colors, like when I used to play like a Esper deck, right? I played Sidri, right? Galvanic Genius. It used to take me forever to get my colors sometimes because at the time I didn't have the fetch lands, I couldn't afford them, but also because those colors traditionally were not good at ramping. But now they are becoming better at ramping, and they're able to fit into like the sort of convoluted like tunnel of ramp that we see in Commander now. Like white is a huge come up from behind color, and now it just strictly can ramp sometimes better than other players can get out permanents to get there. My buddy was playing that Abuelo deck this weekend, and he was flickering a card from one of the Warhammer decks. It's a white creature that says, if an opponent controls more lands than you when it enters, you can search for any planes in your deck. It doesn't have to be a basic anymore, and put it into play. And it's like an uncommon.
Good heavens.
It's like a 3-mana uncommon that only costs 1 white pip. So like crazy to me, right?
Yeah, so there's your Triome, fixes all your colors, and away we go. No, I think the combination of the development of the Triomes and the proliferation of the fetch lands has really made playing 3, 4, and 5-color decks very accessible.
Easy.
Really on easy mode. You're right.
Yep.
And to the point where it really has, the desire to build a 2-color deck really is not a thing anymore. Why would you play 3 colors?
When you can play
3 or more for no additional
cost. The other thing is,
a
side note, if you're playing 1 color, your deck's either incredibly consistent because you have to compete that way, or you're playing like a deck that's super low to the ground. Yeah, I don't know why it was doing that, but so yeah, my computer was fritzing out for a second, but everything's good now. So the monocolored decks are usually very much weaker in scope and scale than these 3, 4, 5 plus colors. That's what I've noticed, at least. Like for the longest time, I'm playing mono red against 5-color decks. How the heck do I compete with them? I have to go faster than them. And that's literally what I've been doing recently, is I'm cutting big expensive dragons for 2-mana creatures that ETB and do something for me. You know what I mean? So like that's what I've been having to do with these decks. This my Akiri equipment deck, similar situation. You're cutting the 8-drop for the 1-mana leather armor that gives your creature ward 1, and it only equips for 0 on your turn or something. The efficiency, I guess, is what we're trying to say. How do you what can you say? Because we've both been on the stomping, and we've been the guys getting crushed at the table together. What have you seen with like optimized decks? Because it used to be like you have to kind of think through your process of building, but now it just seems different, Bruce. It seems like a lot of people have access, which is a good thing, a ton of access to cards, but we see a lot more net decks, don't we? There's less pet cards in the shop.
I'm not sure I'm going to call it net decking, but I'm definitely going to call it where like there's a preponderance of data that's out there. There's so much data that's out there that I don't want to call it net decking, because like even when you go to EDH Rec, you're not seeing an aggregate list that's agreed upon. It's not like CEDH where there is an agreed upon.
Right.
Yeah, but you're seeing a percentage inclusion rate of some cards, which drives people to say, "Oh, damn! Look at that card.
Card is
that
good.
card is
Yeah.
included. Yeah,
or that card has 50% synergy with my commander or something like that. Yeah, that's what it does.
So
right?
You don't have to go digging through your box of junk looking to find the card that might play well with your commander. So the existence of the preponderance of data and the proliferation of product has had a twofold effect. So the proliferation of product has allowed wizards to print ridiculous cards that fit in niche strategies to try and push out all this product that's coming out in waves. And like, if you're like anybody here, like Pete, you know what we're talking. Like, there's so much product that's being dumped into the laps of players, and it's all geared at Commander players. It's really there's no longer a need to play this okay-ish card when you can go find the perfect inclusion for your deck from that new product and go get the card that's perfect for your deck.
Mm-hmm.
So, and what that has done is it's allowed people to play the cards that are more synergistic, but they're also creeping the power level on things because they're looking to sell the product, right? It's just a market.
Yeah, definitely. So our resolution for this new year is we want to see people playing janky stuff they have lying around more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's seeing some more diversity. Not that we don't appreciate people playing cards from new sets. We love to see that. I love learning about new cards and stuff. And I enjoy people playing different commanders I've never seen before. But when it becomes like Smothering Tithe is played in every single white deck, or Rhystic Study is played in every single blue deck, or Deflecting Swat is played in every red deck, or something like that, it becomes difficult to not like rip the hair out of my head. You know what I mean? Out of frustration in that sense.
Can I just provide the audience with a bit of a context of what I'm talking about when I say like power creep is a thing that is like pushing cards out of the format. So, there was a time Heroes Downfall. Heroes Downfall was an excellent card that people played. 3 mana, kill a creature or a planeswalker. It was versatile, it was flexible, it was an instant, it was reasonably costed. And I remember in Theros, it was the preeminent removal spell that was out. Well, and it was at rare. It was a rare card. Well, now Bitter Triumph is just better. So 1 and a black, as additional cost to cast a spell, discard a card or pay 3 life. Many decks are quite happy to discard to their graveyard because you throw it away and you reanimate it later, destroy target creature or planeswalker. So it's sort of this sort of power creep that sells a product now, and that's an uncommon. It's $1 card. It's not like it's an expensive purchase for your deck. You can include it in any list that plays black. It splashes super easy. And that's the sort of power creep that is like seeping into the format. And then when people go and check EDH Rec, they go look and they see the relative inclusion. Let's say you're playing that Myco Tyrant. Well, now Myco Tyrant synergizes with that super duper well. And people are going to go, oh, yeah, I'm going to play that with my Myco Tyrant. And you haven't dedicated any brain space to that. You've just gone and checked a website, and that data is great. Don't get me wrong. I'm never going to say no to data because we use it here on the show.
We do
to help us keep our costs down.
Curate,
yeah. Mm-hmm. So we use the data too, and most good Magic players will. But what it does, it also homogenizes decks so that you see the same sorts of cards over and over and over again because they're the ones that play best with your commander. But on top of it, what it does is that data ensures that your opponents are never going to be playing cards that are suboptimal. And that really changes the way that the format is played. And that's a sort of philosophical question. You've got to ask yourself,
sure,
am I playing this tonight with my buddies? We're going to sit around the table and just sort of catch up, and this is a social experience. Or am I sitting down to play to win? Right. And if you're choosing the option of sitting down with your buddies and you're playing this optimized deck, like this may not be as fun for your buddies as you might think because they're going to get stomped, particularly if they don't follow the same philosophical approach. Now, I find when you're playing over the internet with people who are playing on Spell Table or other enfranchised players who understand that this is what's happening, that you're cutting that big derpy 7-drop, and instead you're playing a 5-mana menace, just I don't know, whatever you're talking about. Like, you're going to find that everyone's kind of on board, but the format goes like wildfire. It goes like stink, and it's going to find yourself like the game is over far quicker, particularly if you didn't have a fantastic start. So anyway, it's a philosophical thing, but it stems from data, proliferation of product. I've really spent a lot of time thinking about this the last sort of week or so, because well, Pete and I were playing online.
I mean, it's happened in various degrees in the last few weeks for me, where
me too. And
either I steamroll somebody, but it's not because I tried to do that; it just kind of happened, or the opposite, where you just get wrecked and like you can't respond to anything and you just feel terrible because you feel like you just wasted your time. We kind of kicked this off about a week ago or 2 weeks ago when we were in a pod together and something occurred where we literally got steamrolled by like turn 4, and it wasn't even like the dude played anything terribly oppressive. His deck was really, really fast. It was just did
the thing.
Yeah.
And you and I were both reasonably set up. Like my deck, I was playing Zayatora. Yep. Pete was on I forgot what you were on. Rutstein, weren't you on Rutstein?
Was I on Rutstein? No, I thought I was on Akiri in that match.
Oh yes, it was Akiri. So the bottom line was we were both set up. We had good foundations for a start. And out of nowhere, we got comboed out by a player. And I'm like, I did everything I'm supposed to do, and I still just got throttled right out of the game.
Yeah.
And it made me think about that. The next game was similar in the sense that we played, and I had a good start. And my Optimus Prime deck performed very admirably that game, and it didn't matter. I just got dummied in the end. And so, like, the net result is like it really got us thinking here, like between Pete and I, like, what are we seeing? Like, what is happening where we're in the game, but then we're really not? Like, what is happening?
I think like when we started playing, right? Everything could be answered and like at a rate that was like sort of appropriate for its curve and its cost. Like if you played Rhystic Study, you could play a Croson Grip in response. You know what I mean? Like the rate of removal and the board wiping, there wasn't that many cards that recurred creatures, right? That were cheap. Now there's 5 mana recursion, return target creature from your graveyard or from a graveyard to your side of the field in like every single set at common now. You know what I mean? There is other unanswerable things that make it really difficult to just play that 1-for-1 removal because you can recover easier in each color now. There's more recursion, save for red, really. I mean, red has artifact recursion, but they've already had that before. White, though, has gotten really powerful, more so than it used to be, with its answers and with its sort of things you have to respond to. That's just off the cusp. But there's been games like the last weekend where I was playing with some friends of mine I haven't seen in a while, where the games were very close, like to the end. And that was nice because that felt like we were playing EDH rather than like playing a different sort of style of the game, where one person just goes off to the races unanswered and everybody else has to try to catch up or politic to remove them from being the problem. So, I don't know. I guess we're in this interesting situation, right? Because we love the game and we love the diversity of it and the different cards that are being played and the commons that are really good now. That's always a thing we're going to support on the channel is like budget options. But it challenges us to like have to really think about how are we even going to be able to play this deck now if we can't answer someone else in the colors we're supposed to be able to answer them in. You know what I mean? Like playing a 4-mana kill all the creatures and then all the creatures come back anyway. You're just like, wow, I didn't even do anything in this game to make it.
I absolutely hear you. Because I mean, like, there's a lot of decks that I have built there. I'm like, I don't think this cuts the mustard anymore. And and at least when I go and play over Spell Table with people, with people that I'm not, that are not my closest friends. My closest friends, like we seem to have a much different understanding in person when we get down to gather to play, because I think we're choosing to gather to play in part because we like to spend time with each other, and not just because we want to, flex our muscles and see whichever these decks can run away with the game and hide. So it's interesting, and like I said, I think it was part of why I think we're going through a transformational phase where there is going to be play groups that lag in their adoption of this, and maybe some groups reject it outright and say no, we like to play our longer, slower game, because it provides us with more, as I describe it, like a board game feel, where like there's like a beginning, a middle, and then some sort of climactic conclusion to the game. Whereas I think where Magic is headed is less about the storytelling, board game, climactic ending, boom, everything, again, the game is over. And it's going to be like a bulldozer. Like somebody's a bulldozer and everybody else is either like can stop the bulldozer or you're done. And that's kind of how I feel like it's happening right now. And if you're going to insist on playing in this format where like decks are super high powered, there's nobody playing poor, like suboptimal cards, and every strategy is sort of very potent, then how you have to either adapt or you're going to find yourself on the losing end far more frequently than not. And
the thing is, it should never be about winning and losing in this format. And I understand people with CDH, their premise is they want to win all the time. But this is meant to be like you get to like the whole purpose of the format was between rounds of Grand Prix, people would get together and just play like unplayable cards, like almost as a joke, in a sense.
Well, so I'm going to agree with you, but I'm going to also disagree a little bit, Pete. So
that wasn't the whole point. But
yeah,
you know what I'm trying to say. But like, what I'm trying to say is like it was meant to be so you could play like a silly 8-mana card and see what the heck happens with it, or like hit the mother load, right? I had a friend cast and resolve, hit the mother load, and got a 1-drop and got to make 9 treasures, and I thought that was awesome. So, like, it's just really weird things that you can do that like you normally couldn't do in any other format, and that's what we're losing, I think, with this overall sort of thing. It's like I killed somebody last week by playing Rite of Reflection onto. I took their Dreadhound out of their graveyard because I copied their commander Nagathrob to take a creature out of their graveyard because I milled it.
Mm-hmm.
I took the Dreadhound and then I copied it and made 5 tokens of it, milled 15 cards, and killed the table. And it was a janky way to win a game, right? But that doesn't happen as often as I would have liked it to, right? Where you're like, what the heck just happened? You know what I mean? So that's I guess what I'm coming from at the end of this thing is like the power is good because we have access to it. But like Spider-Man, right, and all the great Marvel heroes, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yes, I think that's where I think we unfortunately fall down. Because
it's the human, it's a natural human sort of thing, right? We want to be the best at what we create, right? We don't want to feel like we wasted our time or efforts with something that we put our brain power into, right? Like that's just a natural thing.
Well, and I think Magic is prone to people who are keen to demonstrate that they are the best, the smartest, the fastest, whatever. And I think it takes, you either have to be the smartest, fastest, bestest, whatever, or you have to be somebody who's prepared to accept that you're going to take a lot of L's on your road now on this journey. And the good news is your games are going to be over earlier, meaning you can get another one in, which, there's people who are down to like play 4 or 5 games a night. If each game is 45 minutes long, I'll play a bunch. Sure. But I do know there's going to continue to be a plethora. I don't know how many, but a percentage of the player base that is going to be a little more inclined to play the slower, more storytelling aspect of Commander. And I don't know how we balance the two, because how do we have it such that people can find that longer, slower storytelling piece with this desire to play the cool new toys that are coming down the pipeline for us.
Yeah, to solve an unsolvable format, right? To solve an unsolvable format, I think you take the objectivity of the power creep, right? And you turn it into, how do I want to see myself playing this game with my friends or people that I haven't met before, or people that I saw on an LGS that I wanted to play with? I think it comes down to a lot of my friends have started to shy away from proxying and just grab cards that they have lying around, and see what they can do with it and test their own skill level. And I think that's better. If you really want to play Magic, test it with random cards that you have in your bulk instead of playing the best card for the best situation. It takes real skill to take a 7-mana card and make it work in this particular deck that you're running. You know what I mean? So Not to say that I don't, like, I've been cutting my curve down significantly the last few years, right? Just out of necessity. But I think, like, it's good to just sit back and, like, change your perspective, right? Overall. I'm saying this as a rhetorical thing. Like, instead of focusing on trying to do the thing and win, maybe try to just do the thing. And if you do the thing, you win in your own, like, head. Right?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's why I wanted to, like, I want to come back to that. Like, the whole set. For years, I used to run 5 and 10K road races. And I know when I line up to run a 5 kilometer road race, there's hundreds, if not maybe thousands of people who are going to race that with me. Sure. And I'm not racing to be the fastest runner on the course, because I know I'm not. There's going to be guys that are way faster than me that are running away from me all the time. And I want to go and do my best. And so when I sit down to play Commander, I have to increasingly use the mindset of, like, did my deck do what I was supposed to do? So going back to the example we had the other week, where Pete and I both got stomped, and my Zayatora deck was set up to do the thing that Zayatora was supposed to do. I had a chance to fling some creatures, make some treasures, and really do the thing that the Zayatora was supposed to do. And if the game had been extended longer, I would have found that I was going to enjoy what I was set up to do. Optimus Prime deck in the next game, same sort of thing. My Optimus Prime deck got off to a pretty hot start, and I had multiple Autobots on the battlefield, lots of counters. I was having a blast putting counters on things and moving dice around, and I had a shot to try and win the game. It didn't work, but I had a shot. And I mean, at the end of the day, like, I was pretty satisfied with the results for those games, even if I didn't win the games. And I think that's going to be a mindset that we're increasingly going to have to encourage. Yeah, we have to encourage players to adopt. And sure, some games you're going to win because you've managed to either.
Yeah, the thing does the thing, and, like, I gained 200 life on Sunday. Like, whatever. What are you going to do?
Exactly. And there's going to be other games where
it doesn't work at all. Yeah, you get housed, and that's how Magic should be, right? Like, I don't expect to win when I ever sit at a table. I am a good player. People have told me that before. I'm not gonna, like, try to brag or humble. Like, I guess
there's no humble brags. Like, you're being truthful. Like, you are a good player, and
people have targeted me because of that, and I've not sort of reciprocated that understanding. But I've also seen, like, the idea of, like, I want to go to play with some friends or people that I like to play with, and go into a mindset with, like, I just want my deck to do something weird, like really janky, like something that it shouldn't do, you know? Like, the only reason I was able to steal the Dreadhound was because I copied Nagathrob with Volrath, and it was just the way the cards lined up. You know what I mean? Go ahead, Bruce.
Yeah. Well, I just want my deck to do what I designed it to do. So, like, with Optimus Prime, I wanted to put the counters on things.
And it did.
And it did. It did the thing. I'm like, sweet. If I'm building Zayatora, I want to fling things at people and make treasures. Sweet. I could do that. So, like, if my deck does the thing, the games where I get frustrated, or where the games where I get totally derailed and I never get to do the thing at all, I'm like, wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, this kind of stinks. I get to sit here and my commanders in my command zone for the third time, and it costs me a dozen mana.
Well, like, I played a deck for the first time, right, this past weekend, and the creature dies, becomes a land, so then it was turned into a land in a colors that can't get rid of enchantments. So I literally couldn't do anything in the entire game, and I'm kind of glad somebody mercy killed me, because I literally told them, I was like, here's my hand, like, it's 3 pump spells. There's no way for me to get my commander back this game. So it wasn't exactly, like, ideal, but it taught me a lesson that, like, nothing works every time. And I think people are starting to realize, like, you can't have it both ways, right? You can't push the boundaries of power and then not get blown out sometimes, because that's just how the game humbles us, right?
Yeah.
In a 4-player ferment, nonetheless, with politics. Yeah. Like, politics are part of this game. Like, deal with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I also think, like, one of the things that's happened with this format, and I know everyone says, well, if you're getting blown out, Bruce, why don't you play more removal? And I think that's like one of the things we're encountering is that the removal's not enough.
Sometimes,
like, it's not like there maybe farewell is the answer you
Even
need.
that though didn't do its job, because I was in a game recently with our buddy Nick, who plays with us on Discord, and two guys that were making tokens and stuff. I was making tokens, the other guy was doing equipment, and it came down between the last turn because the farewell knocked out all the equipment and all the creatures on the board and stuff. But even then, I was able to recover, and so was the guy across from me playing with equipment. So it didn't even actually, because it's a one-time effect. If there was a continual residual effect, like nobody plays this anymore, but the 4-mana fading card that exile stuff, or parallax wave sorts of effects, where like even that is conditional, right? Where like removal is so conditional that you have to really pick your moments in this game, even more so than you did before. Before, you could counter the first spell your buddy played just to say, haha, screw you. But now it's like, you do that, you're going to lose the game immediately. You know what I mean? If you pick the wrong target for a thing.
For sure.
So
it's really like it's really like the game is changing rapidly, and I'm not sure that lots of players are cognizant of that. I mean, I really question, like, I know they say right now that one of the most popular decks in the format is like an Dragon deck. I don't know how an Dragon deck survives in 2024.
How does that work?
I really don't. Like, it's just, how are you spending 10 mana on your commander? Like, I don't, like, how are you doing that? It's how are you spending that much mana to play? Like, how is Atraxa the top commander of the format when right now, like, if you play Atraxa, that's like the slowest of slow. Like, how are you doing that? It proliferates once a turn. Like, what are you doing? Like, are you playing, like, are you getting Tekuthal into play? How are you proliferating enough that this actually matters? Like, I don't know. And
the future, I think, will be, 3 mana or like 4 mana max, maybe, as a generous
I think that's sort of the way we're headed. I think like curves are going to be compressed. I think ramps is going to be accentuated. I think that, like, I don't know quite where the format is headed, but I feel like we're going to see like just this proliferation.
We're going to have a regurgitation of tokens out every game. Someone's going to be making some sort of extraneous value, and sometimes it'll be me, and sometimes it'll be you, and sometimes it'll be whoever's across from us. But like, as you notice, like, we've had a lot more ETB effects, a lot more leave the battlefield effects than I've ever seen in the last 3 years. Just from like, even commons will just be like, ETB, make a treasure. I'm like, cool. Like, that's great. You know what I mean? So
ETB makes a treasure on a card that was already reasonably statted. And you're like,
yeah, like a 3/2 that makes a treasure, and it's a common, and it's 3 mana, and it's in red, and you're like, what? Because like Bruce and I've been playing long enough, we look at these cards, we're like, what does that card do? Like the Micro Tyrant, you cast it on turn 3, you could make 600 sap or fungus just from milling yourself before the commander even hits the field. Like, it literally says at the end step, which I think just blows my mind. Like, I have a friend who plays that deck, and he makes 25 of them in like 2 turns, and I'm like, bro, how are we gonna do this with you when you're playing sack outlets and pinging us with Zulapur Cutthroat? Like, it's admirable, but it's difficult to respond to. It's difficult to answer. So yeah, I mean, overall though, the format is very healthy though too, right? The diversity is there, the card pool depth is there. People are doing more interesting things than I've seen. There's not just people playing Death and Taxes every time, right? Like, I haven't seen a Winter Orb and Static Orb in a while, but I also play in pods that really don't play those cards. And even those cards wouldn't stop most people nowadays because of all the treasure production. So it's a different game, right? It's a different sort of game we're playing. But any last parting thoughts? I feel like we've definitely gone deep into this sort of discussion. This is a thing we're probably going to have throughout the year coming up too.
I think we'll probably have to come back to this discourse again, because I think there's lots of stuff as we see more products get revealed, and we can maybe keep an eye on some of the the creep and of power and the proliferation of some of these strategies. You're going to maybe see that that this is continuing to push power levels down. And there may be people in the community that say, that's enough. I'm gonna push back here, and I'm not gonna play this. I think here on the show, we're going to have to really make a conscious effort to play cards that are, a little bit on the more unusual side to try and
spice it up a bit. You know what I'm saying?
Well, spice it up, but also to make your dollar as a consumer of Magic out there in the audience, get the best bang for your buck. Because right now, there's lots of there's lots of pieces of the game pieces that are affordable and great for us.
Yep.
But the reality is that some of the ones that we want to play, because they've been optimized through data, proliferation of cool niche cards,
word of mouth.
Some of them are really expensive. Great examples, Beseech the Mirror. Like, that card is a $25 card when it really shouldn't be.
Field of the Dead.
But it is. Yeah.
Field of the Dead is $25, and I've been cutting it from every deck that I have in Landfall because it's too damn slow now.
Yeah. So, there's stuff like that where, like, there's cards that are, we can do more interesting things. And I think where I'm coming from is the fact that, we're seeing this happen in Limited with proliferation of data on 17 lands. You're seeing it in constructed formats on Arena because of other extensions that are allowing us to aggregate data. And I think increasingly that you're going to see it on EDH Rec, where EDH Rec is going to see these cards get pushed down as people are looking to innovate and looking to make their decks more affordable. So in 2024, I think we're going to see this trend continue as the format continues to morph and transform into the next iteration of what we're going to get. And I don't know how we slow that down, because I think Wizards as a commercial entity is still premised on making money. So they're going to print cards. So I don't know where this road ends, but in the meantime, I think, audience, we're in for a bumpy ride. There's going to be
some feel bads, of course, but I think the way to keep it interesting and fresh is to think about your deck not just as a way to win a game against your friends or people that you know or people that you don't know in the LGS. I think looking at it as like, how can I make this an enjoyable experience for everybody? Because again, this is a 4-player format. It's meant to be socialized. Yeah. It's not meant to be me. Like Bruce and I, we could build the most depressive thing and play it. Would we have a good time with it? Probably not. I mean, I've definitely blown people out in drafts before, and they've blown me out in drafts too. So it's not like we've been at the competitive tables too and seen how that happens as well. So
yeah, I think that idea, Pete, is really one that we need to come back to on the show. We need to premise that as being an overarching theme here, that our goal here on the show is to have you invited to come back and play. Exactly. That is the ultimate win here, more so than winning the game. Mm-hmm. Winning is being invited back to play and making new friends. That should be our...
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's simple but effective. Like, that's what it should be.
Well, right? Also, as a teacher, I know sometimes making new friends is not easy. Yeah, and definitely. I see that with students at school, and I know as an adult. And so if I have an opportunity to connect with new people, and they say, you know what, that guy Bruce played a cool new deck. I like that. Mm. Let's play again with him.
Let me give you two scenarios then, right? Here's two scenarios I have experienced the last week or so, right? I went to this guy's house on Sunday. I never met him before. Actually, I think I met him at a store once or twice and didn't really recall who he was. I recognized him by face briefly, but that's just because I remember faces pretty well. And immediately, he welcomed me into his home. He's like, if you want anything to drink, if you want anything to eat, just ask. If you want cards that are sitting in my bulk box, just have them. I don't care about the money. I'm here to have a good time with good people. To set that tone, and then people come in that I recognize, people that I've played with for several years, and then two guys who were literally getting back into the game, Bruce, that had been playing since about the same time you started in the 90s. To have them come back and share their stories with us was fun, because it wasn't just about Magic, it was about creating a connection with somebody. As simply as like, hey, how was your week? How was work this week? Like, anything fun happened to you? I told him a story about how I met Patrick Ewing this year randomly, being an usher at the circus. Like, it was just neat to like have that human interaction with people. But then I go to an LGS and I'm playing with people, and it's like we're just taking ourselves a little bit too seriously at that table. You know what I mean? Because it's an LGS.
Are people getting sweaty? People are getting sweaty.
Of course. You know how it goes.
So I think what we need to stress here on the show is that human connection.
Which is difficult. And like, let's play devil's advocate. This is one of those games very difficult to make human connection with people because it was originally designed for you to beat the dirt out of your opponent somehow, right? We're socializing it more. Granted, there will always be pods, there will always be people out there, and it just depends on the tone that people set initially, and that I think will dictate what happens in games. Like even the feel bads I had with my one buddy, I was like, dude, it's nothing against you. That deck is just super annoying. And it's nothing against you. I just don't like it because I didn't know anything about the cards, and I got absolutely walloped with it. And it's fine because like that's life, baby. Like that's literally how life works. So anyway, thank you for tuning in. If you had this week, Bruce, I'm excited for 2024. Man, we're gonna do some big things. I think
I hope so.
We're trying to get there. We're trying to get there, and we really appreciate people sticking with us this past year. I've learned a ton from you and from other people in general, just from starting this journey with you. So I'm grateful for that too. So
yeah, no, I'm very much looking forward to 2024 as well. I think the show is going to hopefully help people build those connections and finding ways to help people make stronger connections with play groups and people and through Magic, because I think Magic is actually a great avenue or a great mechanism by which we can make new friends and build our social connections. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to what 2024 has to offer. It'll be exciting here on the show. It's exciting for the audience. Now, audience, if you have stories that you want to share with us, we'd love to hear from you guys. All the information is in the show notes for how to reach out to us. We'd love to share your stories about how maybe you've connected with some people through Magic. What we could help, what lessons we can learn to help make people improve their chances of having those positive interactions with each other at a store or at home or anywhere else out there in the internet. So please, we'd love to hear from you guys. Please reach out to us. We'd love to have those stories and share them with the audience generally, because I think there's lots of good to be learned from each other through this game.
So 2 things that I like to do, right? When I get together with friends, I usually bring my bulk with me or try to bring cards that I think people would want to play in one of their decks if I remember. On Sunday I forgot, but I brought 1 card for a guy and he really was happy because it fit in the deck he was building. But usually I'll just bring the bulk over to my buddies, be like, yo, just go through it and take whatever you want. I don't care about the price. I don't care about that. I've had friends do the same thing with me, and I'm grateful for that, right? They just say, here, take this, like this would work in your deck. And I'm like, oh, that's great, thank you. So the point is, it's supposed to be a trading card game, right? We're supposed to trade these things. I also like people drawing tokens for me, even if they're not very good at drawing. I think that's always fun. I'm like, hey, buddy, draw this goblin token for me. Let's see how bad it is or how good it is. Let's grow your ego a little bit. You know what I mean? Well, something fun like that.
Yeah, that'd be good too, for sure.
So
folks, yeah, that's where we're at in 2023. Looking forward to 2024, and
thanks everybody.
Other than wishing all of you a happy holidays and a terrific start to 2024, this is going to be the Epic Experiment Podcast signing off for 2023, and looking forward to seeing you soon enough.
Peace, everybody. Stock those stuffings with plenty of cardboard, and enjoy your holidays with your families and friends. Take care.
Bye, everybody.